was nice.
I would say it's in the 40s, either the high 40s, wouldn't you say?
I think that's right. It's supposed to get up into the upper 50s today.
So it is a cool day in Troy, Alabama, and
not cool as last Tuesday evening and Wednesday was. That's for sure.
That's exactly right. No question about it. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, this is an announcement that's been made already, but John Lewis, Representative John Lewis, the Democrat from Georgia, is going to speak to the 2018 leadership conference at Troy University, which is going to be great. And of course, he's quite dignified, and like you said, he's a Pike County native, and has done a lot of things for the good of his district.
That's right.
While he's been in the House of Representatives, I don't know. I reckon he's been in there as long as anybody, hasn't he?
I don't know how long he's been serving, but he's been in there a good while.
It seems like that. And of course, the cost of the event is $30 if you complete it online, and $15 if completed or received by January the 26th. So it's big savings if you go ahead and buy your tickets. He's born in Pike County, 1940. He inspired by the activism surrounding Montgomery bus boycott, and also was a friend and colleague of Reverend Martin Luther King, and became an active civil rights movement. And he went to school at Fisk University and organized. He was involved in quite a few things during the civil rights. And it's one of the guys I would think would be considered one of the heroes of that.
He was a big player in all
involvement,
that.
No question about it. And of course, very good friend with Martin Luther King. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, Mike Amos calling in from Birmingham. You know, it's a little cool here this morning. How about Birmingham?
Yeah, I think it went down to about 39 degrees.
Yeah.
Got another little cold front coming through, so it's going to be freezing.
Oh, yeah, no question about it. And
freezing the next 3 nights, I guess, as far as in the 20s, I think, high 20s.
Yeah.
Did y'all get snow up there? I know it missed part of the northern part of Alabama.
It didn't get any.
Man, we had tons of bands that just kind of passed us. It was a weird situation. But they said it was going south, so I guess it just kind of hit perfect. I don't know if it was like the temperature didn't get cold enough for a while. I mean, Birmingham was like around 33. It got like a little dusting, I'd say, and a little ice.
Right.
But that was nothing compared to what Troy got.
Yeah. You know, I drove up there a day later, and most of it ended around Clanton. It seemed like it went as far as Clanton, but Troy got a much heavier snow than any of those places up there.
Yeah. That's right.
I work with a guy that lives in Childersburg, which is probably about 35 miles south of 280, and he said he got about 3 inches. So.
Well, evidently it went around the mountain. Evidently that's probably had a lot to do with it. You got to drive uphill from Childersburg to Birmingham.
Right.
Well, Dad, Troy's trying to just give basketball games away. They almost gave another one.
Well, they almost did, but thank goodness Jordan Bernardo hit a shot pretty much at the buzzer. I think he scored with about 2 seconds left, and we had 2 or 3 shots. We had not rebounded very well the whole night, but we got 3 shots at it at the end, and Bernardo put it in.
Wow.
Of course, that's coming off losing a game when you're up by 14 at the half to Cliff Ellis and Coastal Carolina on Saturday, and that was a must-win for Troy last night if they want to have any kind of seeding when it comes to the Sun Belt tournament down in New Orleans. And of course, they won it all last year and won the NCAA tournament. But this team's got to find a way to turn it on down the stretch and put these teams away instead of having these buzzer beater finishes.
Makes for exciting games, but it'll stress you out, won't it?
No question about it. And
I mean, it's one of those things where Auburn got down over the weekend by 14 to Georgia. They came back and won by, I think, 14. And then Alabama was up by 19 against Mississippi State. Mississippi State tied it up, and Alabama found a way to win. But I really was expecting a huge year for Troy. Of course, Bernardo got hurt. And, that really, hurt Troy in a lot of games. But maybe they can find a way to get hot late. That's what they did last year.
Mike, I want to mention
Lafayette in the Sun Belt, 17-3 and undefeated in conference. They're really good.
I know they really are. Yeah, and you know who coaches on that team? You know, used to be the women's coach at Troy, and
Michael Murphy.
Michael Murphy is one of the coaches there, and of course
you know, a lot of people don't realize Michael Murphy used to be an assistant in Alabama. And,
yeah.
You know, his resume was really good. He didn't have the best record at Troy as a women's coach. Had some really, you know, teams that just underperformed, but you know, he's a really good coach.
Yeah, no question about it. Former Trojan Brandon Trawick, you remember him?
Yeah, he was playing for the Titans.
Yeah, now he's a native of Marietta, Georgia, and was originally taken as a Pro Bowl alternate before chosen to fill in for Matthew Slater, the New England Patriots. So he'll be playing in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, it's good for Troy.
Not since the great one. I don't think not since the great one that Troy had a guy playing in the Pro Bowl. Is that right?
I mean, DeMarcus Ware is the last one I can.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And Trawick, of course, I remember when he came on, and he had a great year, no question about it.
He's special
The
teams.
story with Trawick was interesting. He started at Michigan State and transferred to Troy out of junior college. So he was on one of Larry's last few teams at Troy. Big safety.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, just right for the NFL. Pro Bowl will be played at.
Do you remember this guy that Troy just hired? He's, I think, going to be the new running back or receivers coach. His name's Sean Dawkins.
Yeah, I know it.
2004, 2007, but I did not remember him.
See, I remember the name, but I don't remember the face. To tell you the truth. And I saw a guy last night with his family, and I know he's one of the coaches, but I don't know which one he is. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Coach Brown hired a guy, Coach Perry. He's a longtime high school coach in Kentucky to be.
Yeah. Well, see, I know about him.
As well.
Yeah, I know about him, and I met him, about a month or so ago. Of course, he's one of the coach's best friends. They played together at Kentucky, and I think he's going to be a good addition. But Sean Dawkins was a player at Troy, Mike. But
I know, that's what I'm saying. I was talking to some buddies yesterday. I just couldn't remember him. He played running back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't remember him either.
But I mean.
I know this. He has coached.
He's been at like Austin Peay and some other 1AA schools.
Yeah. And he had been at a couple of other. He had a pretty successful run so far.
At Chattanooga for a year. So.
Yeah. And
But I mean, Neil Brown. I mean, anybody getting on his staff right now, that's a big.
Well, I would think it would be a shot at the future, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, probably one of the top 3 non-Power 5 coaches in the country. I'd say right now he's number 3 behind Lane Kiffin at Florida Atlantic and Mike Norwood at Memphis. And then I'd say Neil Brown's right there at number 3. And
one of these things about him, he's very loyal, and I'm sure if he goes somewhere, he'll take most of his staff with him. And hopefully that don't happen anytime soon.
No, we don't want it right away.
Well, let's be honest. We're probably stealing another year.
Oh yeah, we are.
Yeah.
I mean, I think anybody realizes that. I mean,
and I'm sure a lot of the other schools are using that against us too. They're saying, well, your coach won't be there but a year. He's going to move on up. And that type thing.
Well, I mean, so far we had a really good recruiting class. I don't know how many more guys they'll add. I mean, when it comes to a school like Troy, you're basically waiting to see what happens with the SEC, with the leftovers. Some of these guys will maybe get some, offers from SEC schools, and then they'll back off. So that gives Troy a really good opportunity to get some really good players.
Yeah. Well, and another thing, hopefully we'll, get some good players at skill positions. I think it's going to be a real battle this spring at quarterback. Between the kid from Priceville and the kid from Pensacola.
Barker and Sawyer Smith.
Yeah, Sawyer Smith, and both of them are good-looking football players, and both of them are two guys that can run. You'll look at a chance to see a running quarterback at Troy.
We haven't had that in a few years. So.
That's right. It puts a lot of pressure on you.
I think Smith is considered the thrower of the two.
Yeah.
Have you seen Jalen Hurts with his haircut? It's pretty amazing.
No, I heard he.
I saw it.
Alabama's quarterback cut his locks, and man, he looks like a totally different kid. It's crazy.
Yeah, looks good to me.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what.
There's a lot of rumor mill up here that Herman and Texas are really making a big push for him to transfer to Texas. Of course, he's from the Houston area.
Yeah, I bet they'd love to have him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an athlete.
Of course, he'll have to sit out a year wherever he goes.
Yeah. But you know what, and I wouldn't doubt it, and maybe that would make him even a better quarterback. Work on his passing. That's all he needs to do is work on his passing. But I could see him being used as a wildcat in the wildcat formation. Running. Boy, he'd be a terror in that. And then of course he can he can throw it pretty adequately.
Yes.
But I could see him still being dangerous. At the quarterback position, but what I think that he could do is he could be used as a running back and as a wide receiver.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of hands he has as far as being able to catch the ball.
I would think he would.
Yeah, ability to do that.
I mean, he's a coach's son. I mean, I'm sure. I think his dad would have to tell him that right now he's just not going to be able to play at the next level as quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to have to really get in with some quarterback guru over the off season and work on his mechanics, because he actually was a better thrower his freshman year than he was last year.
Yeah.
So, of course, situation he does leave. You got Mac Jones, the backup, who's
what's the deal
this year.
What's the deal on him, Mike? Was he a good high school quarterback?
Four-star quarterback out of Bowles in Jacksonville, Florida.
What kind of player is he? Have you heard anything about him?
I mean, he's a pro-style quarterback, drop-back passer.
Yeah.
So Alabama's got some issues at quarterback if Hurts leaves. There's no doubt about it. If Tua gets hurt in a game, they're going to be in big trouble.
Yeah. And Tua's brother's coming up through.
One good thing that Alabama does have coming back next year, they have every offensive lineman set their center. So that's a big factor right there.
Yeah. And of course, they've got most of their receivers coming back too, don't they?
Well, they lost Ridley, they lost Cam Sims, but all those young guys are coming back.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see that. I mean, that's one thing Auburn definitely has coming back. They have a proven quarterback, and Tua played great in the national championship game and played great in some mop-up roles, but I mean, we haven't seen for a full season yet.
Yeah, no question about it. Well, he's got everybody buzzing. So he was very impressive in that time that we saw him in the second half against.
Yeah, you would have liked the national championship stuff, Dad. They had a huge parade, and then they had about 40,000 people there in the Walk of Champions.
That's hard to believe, isn't it?
And Saban said that we're just getting started.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, listen, he loves it, and.
I mean, there's a lot of former players they're interviewing. They were saying the other day, you've always said that you thought he was a lifer, and a lot of those guys were saying they thought he would coach into his 70s.
Oh, I think he'll coach until he croaks.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of those guys that I don't think he has a lot of things he likes to do. I think he'd rather coach football than anything else. Yeah. Larry Blakeney, we're gonna call Larry before long and see how he's doing. But he's like that. He loves to play golf, but other than that, he's always wanted to coach football, and that's what he did for all those years.
Yeah.
But
I think Saban likes to play golf too. I mean, he'll go out to Pebble Beach and play in the Pro-Am.
You think he will?
Sometimes he'll go out there and play with Belichick.
Yeah. Well, I would be two good ones, no question about it. Of course, Troy's women last night won 81-74. Shannon Rigby's team broke up.
Yeah, what's their record this year?
Let's see. I want to say, gosh.
They've struggled this season compared to last.
Yeah. 9-17.
Okay, yeah.
It's
coming off 2 NCAA tournament appearances.
Yeah. You're exactly right. And of course, you can't get good ones every year, and this is just sort of an off year. And but it's how well you play. At the end, you can go 15-0 or 8 or 20-0, and then lose the first game of the tournament.
Yeah.
I don't know if Troy's A-Day game's been set, but Alabama's was set yesterday. They'll play April the 21st in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Will be A-Day. So
Okay.
I'm sure that game will probably be on ESPN like it normally is.
Yeah.
I think I heard the Auburn's game's like 2 weeks before that, maybe.
Yeah, on the 7th.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I haven't heard for Troy's game yet.
Troy usually does theirs.
And
Troy usually do spring.
do they do it in with the Hall of Fame? Do they do it the same weekend of the Hall of Fame, or do you know? I want to say that.
I can't remember.
Seemed like last year, it was during the Hall of Fame,
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
the weekend, and I saw Wendell Stevens, and nobody deserves bit. Wendell is kin to you, is that right?
No, he's not related to me.
Wait a minute, I thought he was.
No, he's not.
Because Wendell would go into the Hall of Fame, and let me just say this: that the Hall of Fame's done a great job. There's not but probably one or two, maybe three or four that I don't think that are in there that I wouldn't have voted for. I mean,
Right.
they're great. They might have been good on down the line.
Right.
But Wendell Stevens was one that I thought would have gone in 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
He was that great.
player.
And now, Mike, if they don't put Jude Rinaldi in there, they ought to just go ahead and shut down. Don't you think?
Well, I mean, I think, a lot of those Riddle guys are some of the ones that probably should go in first.
Yeah. James Ray, of course, the great left-handed pitcher, but Jude Rinaldi practically won a world championship single-handedly. You remember that?
Yeah, I mean.
And he was hurt. He could hardly run, and he just hit home runs and knocked in all kinds of runs during that World Series.
Wow.
I mean, there were so many great players.
You remember that name,
growing
Jude
up.
Rinaldi?
Name, yeah.
Back then, you never thought that Troy was Division II.
Oh, they were good as anybody. You're right.
But yeah, they had some great talent. And, it's one of those things where I'm sure the committee does the best they can do, and it's a tough situation. I mean, there's definitely some of the pro guys that definitely go in football before some of these other great players, but you kind of understand that as well. So it's gonna be interesting, to see these upcoming classes. There's a lot of good, Blakeney players, and I wouldn't be surprised if Brock Nutter goes in soon, and some of these other guys from some of these other teams that were.
Oh yeah, and he was a great one, and Brock Nutter was a great one, and he definitely will go in. But I'm sort of like you are in a way. Some of these older guys, I would like for them to be able to enjoy the moment.
Yeah, get in.
One day.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Willie Collins has gone in. Willie Collins is a great player, Troy.
Who now?
Willie Collins.
Oh gosh, was he a great player, Troy? And he should go in one day. He was a great one.
He was.
And a big king, well, not big king, but the
principal at Shays Valley High School was one of the best defensive linemen ever played Troy. Marsh.
He was a very good one, and of course there are hundreds of them out there. There really are. There are that many of them out there that are deserving, and hopefully we'll get around to them, for the Crows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's one of those
And I'll
things
tell you
where,
a great one. I'll tell you a great one right now that should go in is the great Vince Green on the national championship team in '68, and he was the first Troy receiver to ever catch balls for over 1,000 yards in a season. He was out of Columbus, Georgia, and was a great one. And to me,
you know all that '68 national championship team. I mean, who off that team?
Well, already, Bobby Enslin is already in. Danny Grant's already in, and Sim Bird. And
was Doug Taylor in it yet?
No, but he deserves to be in it. He was a great one. The tight end, Doug Taylor, out of Columbus, Georgia, and he definitely deserves to be there, and so does Vince Green, and hopefully they'll be there one day.
Who was that guy for Troy that was? I remember when I used to work in the athletic department, and we had the Red Room, and I remember seeing his picture up all over the place. It was like Tim Tucker.
Yeah, Tim Tucker was a great player out of Enterprise, and
Is he in it?
No, he's not in it, and he one day should be, no question. He was a great linebacker, and he was. I tell you what, he was the most valuable player in the blue-gray game his senior year. The All-Star game.
I mean, you got Kelvin Simmons, you got Robert Bradley.
Oh,
I mean,
hey, Kelvin Simmons.
You got Mitch Geyer. You got you know, you got all these guys that played. Kerry Christensen's I don't think the Hall of Fame. I mean,
but Kerry was almost like a 1 year guy. You know, he was very good that 1 year and was very good and should go in.
Troy history. I don't think Ted Clemson.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And yeah. What I can't get over about it is that I don't like, this is not we're not obligated to track people going in the Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? And we're not obligated to a lot of these girls that are going in. What I'm saying, Hall of Fame should be for the best people out there, not doing it, you know, in regard to each sport.
Right.
If you're gonna do that, you know, why don't you just say, all right, this is a all sports Hall of Fame, you know.
Right.
Right now they look like they.
That's the way they want to try to do
right
it.
now they're putting in some
understand
track people or that you know that a lot of folks don't even know.
You got to have diversity, though. I mean, you got to be able to, you know.
Well, you can have some, but go ahead and put these top people in. Go ahead and get them in there, and then work with the group that are not sure bets, you know.
Right.
But I mean, that's the way I look at it. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, you know, of it. I say go ahead and get these guys in that are the top people, top vote getters, you know.
Auburn basketball continues to win. They're still ranked 19th. I think Auburn's record now is, 17-2. Right now they have Alabama and Auburn projected to make the NCAA tournament, which would be great for the state of Alabama. Of course, it's been a long time for Auburn and Alabama being in the tournament, so.
Yeah,
of course, Alabama's got their biggest game of the year coming up against Oklahoma. They're going to play Trae Young. This guy out of Oklahoma is averaging about 30 points a game.
What's his name, Mike?
Trae Young. He scored 48 over the weekend against Oklahoma State.
48.
Amazing.
Boy, we hadn't had a score like that in a long time.
That's a lot of points.
They compare him to Steph Curry, the great player for Golden State.
Really?
So.
Yeah.
Coleman Coliseum is going to be beyond a sellout this weekend.
All right, Curry, did he play at Davidson? Where did he play?
Davidson.
Yeah.
A little school at Davidson.
Yeah.
No bigger, not much bigger than Huntington.
His brother played at Duke.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he in the NBA?
He started at Liberty, and then he transferred to Duke.
Yeah. And well, you know, looking at basketball players, the great one out of Atlanta, Mike, number 25.
No, Daryl Thomas.
Daryl Thomas should definitely go in. You remember him?
I do remember.
Great
him.
player.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's been several others, but a couple of them that come out in my mind is out of Birmingham, Mike. They nicknamed him. Mac Madison, Big Mac Madison, was a great player.
Yeah, basketball player.
Oh yeah, and then the guy they call Yakadoo out of Decatur. What was his name? Great player. That should definitely go in on down the line in basketball. You know, as a basketball. But it shouldn't be I don't think you need to have a basketball player, a women's basketball player, a track player. I don't think you have to have those every year.
Well, eventually you're going to probably run out of those, I would think.
And we're putting a lot of non-athletes in there, too. And what I'm saying, you'll put them in there, but put them in there on down the road, you know.
Well, I mean,
let's honor these. What I'm saying, let's honor these athletes, you know.
Right.
Well, I mean, nothing's going to be perfect. I mean, let's be honest with you. Benny Beard's one of our best friends,
no question about it. No question about it. But
it's one of those things where Johnny Williams probably went in too late.
Yeah, I could tell you. I mean, I think they need to do some research.
You got to. I mean, I don't know how long has it been going on the Hall of Fame? 8 years, 10 years.
Evidently, they must have a slot for that. They must have a slot for non-athletes. You know, they must.
It's one of those things that I'm glad Troy has it. I mean, you used to be on.
Nobody loves Dr. Johnny Long more than I do, but he was a band director, not a football coach.
Right.
I know, but I mean, you know, the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, you were a member on that selection committee for years, and we used to always go to that banquet. And that's why I hope more Troy athletes will get in over the years. You know, you got Coach Blakeney in it, you got Sim Bird in it, Chan Gailey went in it.
You know, Billy Atkins went in it.
Yeah, Billy Atkins went in it. Now, DeMarcus Ware will definitely go in it.
Yeah, that could be.
Will go in it. I mean, hopefully Troy will have more guys involved in that.
Yeah, exactly.
In the next few years, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
And don't get me wrong, you know, it's fine. It's fine the way where it is, in many respects. But at the same time, it's for athletes, you know. As far as the way I look at it, you know. I mean, the Chancellor Ralph Adams was the president of Troy University, but should he be in the Athletic Hall of Fame? Yeah. You know. Even though he called a lot of shots and made a lot of things happen.
How long was Ralph Adams the president of Troy University?
Oh, gosh. I'll give you a pretty good hint.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. Chancellor Hawkins is.
I was in school.
He's been there for 30 years now?
He came there, I think, in 89.
Oh, yeah. He'd been here over 30 years. I'll tell you, I was in school in from 65 to 70. And I think Dr. Stewart was our president, and then Ralph Adams came in there. I want to say maybe in 66 or 60. I would say 66. Ralph Adams came in there. Maybe even as early as 65. Maybe 65 is when he came in there, and he was there until.
I think it was 89 because I started Troy in 89, and I think that was Dr. Hawkins' first year.
Yeah.
So
I think so too.
So Dr. Hawkins has been there a lot longer than Ralph Adams.
Yeah, no question about it. And you know, from 89 till let's see, we got 17 or 18. We're looking at almost 30 years.
Yeah.
28 years probably. Yeah. But what I'm saying, I mean, no reflection against these people that have won, but it is an athletic Hall of Fame. Right. You know, it's to honor these athletes, and when you start putting a lot of other people in there, you know, you are depriving athletes that should go in there. You know.
Yeah. I think the Senior Bowl's this weekend as well.
Gosh, and I usually go down to the practice, and I still might. I might possibly go down there. They've got their seafood. You've been down there with me for that before, the buffet.
Oh yeah, I've been down there.
And they have that going on, and it would be fun to go down there. I might.
You and Bud used to go down there.
Yeah, me and Bud, and Bud loved to go down there too. And gosh, everyone I knew Bud, I tell you that.
Really.
Yeah, Bud Casey had never met a stranger.
No question. And
what do you think about this? Central Florida raises a national championship banner for their practice field. So their national championships.
Well, in their own right, you're right. In their own right, no question. And but I don't think anybody. I just don't think they could have beat Alabama. I don't think they could have beat Georgia, and I don't think they could have beat Oklahoma. And I don't
think if they would have beat Auburn if Auburn's mom would have been right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I tell you who messed Auburn up.
When they went to play in the Sugar Bowl, when they played Utah that year, and just, you know, these guys have got to have something to play for. You know, they want to play for championships.
You know, Auburn, if they'd had their
just don't mean as much.
Mike, if the fullback would have been healthy, no telling how good Auburn would have been. Gosh, to have those two running. What I'm saying, those two running backs. If you'd had both of them, and then to go with your passing deal too. Yeah. Well, I don't think anybody could have stopped Auburn.
He went to, he went ahead and decided to go to the draft, so him and Kerryon Johnson are both gone.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt Auburn next year.
Exactly. And
Auburn's got Asa Martin, the kid from Decatur, in already, so he's already on campus.
Okay.
Rashad Evans has pulled out of the Senior Bowl. I don't know.
Yeah, you can't blame any of those guys. They got to be worn out.
Then a lot of them are ready to start taking a little money, aren't they? I don't know what the.
Oh no! I mean, the thing is they're trying to get ready for the combine. That's really the most important thing.
Yeah. And Bo Scarborough, I don't. I see him going in the sort of middle rounds. I don't think that he is.
His stock really got hurt. You know, in that national championship game, he looked like the best running back in the country last year against Clemson.
Yeah.
And when he broke his leg, he just never came back. I mean, anywhere close to where he was that first one there. Yeah. You know, the most yards he had in a game this year was 79.
Yeah.
Now, I think Damien Harris is out of his mind. I think, you know, he's a great kid. He's an intelligent kid.
Yeah, he really is.
He's coming back for his senior year. I have no idea. I mean, you risk getting injured and basically, you know, costing you millions of dollars.
That's right.
You know, he was projected at worst second round.
Yeah.
You know, second round's millions of dollars.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Let me tell you this.
I mean, Matt Barkley's the best example ever. Quarterback at USC. He decides to go back his senior year. He's a sure first-round pick.
Yeah.
He has an awful senior year. He gets injured a few times. He ends up going in the 4th or 5th round. It cost him millions of dollars.
You think that's what's going to happen? You don't think he'll go before then?
Who?
The quarterback at Southern Cal.
No, I'm talking about years ago, Matt Barkley.
Oh, yeah. Who now? Matt Barkley. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Sure first-round pick.
And he never made it, did he?
No, he never made it. He's done.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those type things. I mean, as a player, you only got so many years. I mean, the average NFL player plays 3 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's one of those type things where you got to make the money when you can. So you can't blame any of these guys going out in their junior years.
Scarborough, in his career, rushed for 1,500 yards and 20 touchdowns on 27 rushes. Henry rushed on 395 rushes, 2,219 yards and 28 TDs. 15 game in a 15-game season. Trent Richardson, now he's the biggest disappointment around. He rushed 28 times for right at 1,700 yards, 21 touchdowns.
Played 4 years in the NFL, and now he's playing in Canada. Trent Richardson had 180 yards his last game in the Canadian League.
Really, I'm glad. I didn't know that. Mark Ingram, 271-yard rushes.
Now, Ingram's had a great pro career.
1,650 yards. You think he has had a great pro career?
Shoot, he's had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons.
I didn't realize that he had one last year. I didn't.
He rushed for 1,300 yards this year.
I didn't realize that. Yeah. 17 touchdowns last in college.
Alabama transferred to Tennessee. That's like a star player for the Saints.
Bobby Humphrey, 264 rushing yards, or 1,630 rushing yards, 17 touchdowns. All of these guys about the same. Sean Alexander, listen to this, rushed for 1,544 yards and 22 touchdowns in 13 games.
What are you looking at there? Last year at Alabama?
No, I was just looking at the comparisons of the running backs comparison to Scarborough, who thinks he had a chance to make it in the pros. And
well, you know, Bobby Humphrey had 2 great seasons in the pros for the Broncos, but you know, he had substance abuse issues.
Yeah.
And that pretty much ended his career. You know, Bobby Humphrey, of course, his son now plays for the Ravens and was a first-round pick, Marlon Humphrey, and he had a decent first year. He had 4 interceptions.
You know, looking at all these and you know, Humphrey, I mean, are these career stats or one season's stats?
One season
one year stats.
Okay, I got you.
The greatest running back in Alabama history is Derrick Henry.
Well, yeah, that's right, 2,219.
Yards, won the Heisman Trophy.
28 touchdowns. That's phenomenal. But he did in 15 games, too.
Yeah, well, the crazy thing, you know, that year against Auburn, what did he run the ball against Auburn in that game? 48 times?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, they're real critical of Saban after that game, but I mean, that was the best way to win it.
Yeah,
worked. Exactly
right. And of course, we're talking sports this morning, and you know, back to the Hall of Fame. And I don't want to mean to make anybody mad, but you know, the guys that are in there, of course, you know, are deserving people, no question. I mean, where would our program be without the vision of Ralph Adams that went ahead and supported football by bringing in Billy Atkins and supported football in a big way. And then, of course, you know, people like Ben Beard, who did so much to help Troy move to Division 1A. That's the best thing that's ever happened to Troy is go Division 1A. You know, we had great successes in Division 2, but that was Division 2. A much smaller, but we're in the top league right now of college football, and Troy, Alabama, little Troy, Alabama is the second smallest town in Division 1A in America. Did you know that?
I didn't know.
Who's the smallest? Wake Forest?
No, I'll tell you right now. I'll give you 5 chances, and I don't think you'll get it. All right, you said Wake Forest, no. But it is a small school. Rice is a small school.
Yeah, but I thought Rice was in Houston.
Rice is in Houston, but it's a small school.
I mean, you're talking about enrollment, not.
No, what I'm saying, the town. No, the town, where the town is. Yeah, you're right. I'm wrong there. You're right, where the town's located. Now, Mike, Wake Forest is located in Winston-Salem now. It's not in Wake Forest anymore. But that is a great trivia question. What town other than Troy is the smallest Division 1A sports town in America?
Probably one of those like MAC schools, like up in Michigan somewhere. Probably like Central Michigan or Eastern Michigan, something like that.
I think you could guess for a while and not get it. West Point, New York, is the home of what school? Army.
Really?
West Point, New York is the smallest town in America that plays Division I college football. And Troy University, or Troy, Alabama, population 20,000, is the smallest, is the second smallest.
And Troy is one of the fastest growing cities in the state.
In the state, no question. And that goes back so much to the importance of people like Benny.
I mean, when Stephen probably went to Troy city limits was probably about 13,000. When I went there, it's probably about 14,000.
Yeah.
I mean, enrollment was probably 3,000. When I went to school, it was probably 3,500.
Yeah. Well, there was a sign out when I was growing up in Troy. There was a sign out that said, "Welcome to Troy, home of 10,000 people and 2 or 3 old grouches."
Really?
That's what the sign said.
Well, would you like somebody to try to find that sign? I wonder what happened to it.
Yeah, I don't know, but it was a sign up on both ends that said home of 10,000 people and 2 or 3 old grouches.
Was it like a billboard?
Yeah, it sure was.
How about that?
And
Great Beach has a sign that says "Nice dogs, strange people."
Well, I will tell you this. Back to the Hall of Fame and people athletes going in there. If it wasn't for the efforts of Ben Beard, who pushed Division I to the limit and finally got the vote for it. Of course, there were some other people involved too, but he was the one that was the ringleader of that group of men. I was one of those guys. I was for it, and I could see it for a long time, and that was very important in Troy athletics. Very important. I mean, aren't you proud of being Division 1A?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, would you want to be? I mean, that's being Division 1A. Would you want to be 1AA or Division 2?
Don't want to go back.
Yeah.
Would you want to play West Alabama to start the season?
Yeah, or play Townsend State, Townsend State is Division 1 now, but or play some of these smaller schools, like we play Presbyterian next year. How about that?
Well, I mean, everybody's slowly doing it. Jack State, they've been 1AA for years, and then UNA finally made the jump.
And they waited a long time. And I tell you,
I don't know if people realize that Florence Shoals area is beautiful.
Well, and it has close to that whole area probably has 100,000 people in it.
A lot of population. So I never understood that.
But I'll tell you what.
Still, I'm amazed at Chattanooga. Of course, they're in the UTC.
Yeah.
So Tennessee controls them, but Chattanooga is it's one of our favorite towns to go to. My wife and I, we had friends up there.
And Coach Frank Sadler is their newest resident.
That needs to be a Division I school.
Did you know that, ladies and gentlemen? I want everybody to know this, and I don't have the name of the assisted living facility that he's living at, but Frank Sadler is Chattanooga's newest member.
How about that?
We'll have to go there and visit him.
I know it. I plan on doing that
myself. One of his sons up there?
Yeah, that's right. Sean, his son, is up there, and of course he was excited about going, and we're gonna miss him, but we're gonna keep everything alive, and maybe we can call him on the phone some and talk to him. I think it'll be fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And again,
well, I mean, it's a situation where he came back and lived in Troy, and of course was part of our show for several years. I know you think the world of him, Dad, and meant a lot to a lot of.
Well, he made me learn to believe. If you don't believe in yourself, you're not gonna go anywhere.
Right.
And he made us believe that we were the best.
Right.
All those concussions he gave you, and all those other guys that played for you all. I mean, there was a lawsuit. But all that, is over.
Well, I will tell you this: we did.
Mention the rest of your life because you hit with your head.
We hit with our head over and over and over, bang, 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 and that old Rydell helmet wasn't worth a flip, and that's who they ought to sue, Rydell.
They blame helmets now a lot. We saw Nick Bonacani the other day, and he was preaching, about the helmets he wore when he was just a kid.
Yeah.
And he was dangerous. And of course he's in terrible shape. And
you know what I sell more of now than anything in the athletic sporting goods business? I sell tackling wheels.
What is that?
Just to show them properly how to tackle.
Oh yeah, I got you.
Wheels that they roll out there, and also it's kind of like another player on the field. And pop-up tackling dummies. There's all kinds of different things to sell now to help these guys use better technique.
Right.
Bonacani's son was paralyzed in a football game, and
he played for Columbia. That's right.
And I don't know if he's still living or not. I'm thinking that he might have already have died. But Bonacani said, parents, don't let your kids play junior high football.
Wow.
Play high school football, but not play junior high. That's why this flag thing's getting to be such a big thing.
Two of my boys have played that little flag rec league here, and it's really fun to get out there.
I like it a lot better than soccer, don't you?
Yeah, it's a lot more exciting than soccer.
And some people out there say, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Right.
Soccer." Marco's Pizza,
Mike. There's all kinds of cases where soccer. There's tons of concussions in soccer.
How about those? When they do this, with their head,
a lot of head injuries in soccer. Yeah.
Sure is. And
the biggest thing about it is technique and trying not to hit with your head. I mean, even when I played growing up, we hit with our heads. Richard Calhoun and I don't know how many times.
Well, let me tell you this. When you hit with a head and made a big hit, that coach would be on top of you, picking you up and jumping up and down, and it meant so much. Now, what you worry about if you make a big hit, you get a flag, and then they look at the film to see whether or not they're going to kick you out of the game.
Yeah.
And what you did, you did was you just made a super catch for not only football fans across the world, but football coaches and players love that play. But you got penalized and you missed a half a game because of it.
That's right. But I mean, you got to protect. You got to teach people not to injure themselves.
But Michael,
like Zoe Bridges, with 2 minutes left to go in the New Orleans Bowl, gets a targeting call. So Zoe Bridges only got kicked out at the end of that game. He'll have to miss the first half.
He'll miss the first half of the season. He's a heck of a player too.
Yeah.
I know. I mean,
first half of the game.
Right. It's amazing how that factors into guys, going into the next season.
Yeah, Mike, pick up real quick and tell us who Troy opens up with, and
open up against Boise.
I knew they did, but give us the whole deal if you can.
I don't know if they'll have the conference, but I'll be able to get you in the non-conference.
Yeah, that's why we want non-conference. Of course, they open up right here against Boise. And it was a game that Troy could have very easily won this year. Troy's quarterback was, I think he would tell you that they were not ready to play that game. I think Troy was as good or better than Boise.
I wondered if the blue turf had something to do with that.
It could, and being in that altitude could have had something to do with it too. And
special teams were awful though. We gave up a long punt.
That's right.
Return.
Yeah,
sure were. Had a really tough time special teams in that game.
Yeah, no question about it. Our show's brought to you by Express Oil Change, and now tires. Yeah. And of course, I've already gotten my tires and had some alignment done, and they do a great job at Express Oil and Tire Engineers. And also,
that's a place that I've been going to in Birmingham for years, and I guess the Nonomans decided to, go into business.
Yeah. And you know what? It's a good-looking building for the bypass,
They
too.
really made
Have
it
you ever
look
noticed
good,
that at night it's such a
lit up
good-looking building?
Nice.
And, of course, they're great people. And you just pull in and get your oil change in and out in about 10, 15 minutes. And they're going to check your air pressure, and they're going to check your oil, and they're going to check all your fluids.
That's right.
Mike,
Dad, you want to go ahead and call the upset September 15th? Troy travels to Nebraska. Scott Frost.
We play Scott Frost on the 15th.
In Nebraska.
Go ahead and make our reservations for that game. Go ahead and make our reservations. and do you want to stay in Omaha like we've been doing, or do you want to stay in?
Omaha's a great town.
Yeah, got a good steakhouse there, don't they?
They got great steaks everywhere, but Lincoln's a great place too. If anybody that's a football fan that wants to make a great trip, I would make that trip.
Yeah.
Of course,
it's the longest trip ever for Troy's band as far as now. Now they have flown across to California, but their band on their bus is the longest trip ever to Nebraska.
And then we're going to go to play Jerry Falwell. We're going to go to Liberty.
All right, wait a minute now. On the 1st, is it what day do we play Boise?
September 1st.
All right, September 1st we play Boise. Then we have a week off.
Next game after that, we play Presbyterian.
Presbyterian. The guy, and Mike, tell me now. Danny Lee could do it in a second. Tell me Presbyterian's nickname.
Oh God, the Blue Dots. Or something?
I want to say Gosh Hose, Blue Hose.
Yeah.
I want to say that. I want to say it's a Blue Hose Presbyterian.
If we had Silvers coming back at quarterback, I would call upset big time against Nebraska.
Yeah.
Because they really.
Yeah, that's right. They're not going to be able to get back that quick. Don't you agree?
Yeah, but I mean, we'll be
unless he hits the junior college circuit and gets all the great players out of the junior colleges.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got Liberty. Of course, Liberty is one of the newest members of Division I, so that's going to be a game in Lynchburg, Virginia. So that would be a fun trip for a lot of
people. I've been there before, and we got beat. We missed a field goal in the last seconds, a chip shot field goal, and lost that game. That was when their coach was Sam Ritigliano. You remember him?
That name.
He was a pro coach.
Yeah, former Cleveland Brown coach was their coach. But their program, they're building their program now. They've got all kinds of money now. These Baptists have got plenty of money.
Well, they beat Baylor this year.
Did they? Gosh.
Yeah.
Jerry Falwell, of course, is Jerry dead?
I think he's still alive. I think his son runs everything.
Yeah, does he? Okay.
He knows how to raise the money.
He sure does. And
I'll say this. I mean, having Boise as a home opener and then traveling to Nebraska, I'm surprised an SEC school's not involved. But those are 4 really winnable games. I mean, of course Presbyterian is, but I mean, I like our chances against Boise at home, and then Nebraska is definitely a potential upset, and then I think we'll definitely beat Liberty. So
let me tell you something about Nebraska. And of course, it's a clean-cut atmosphere. But what they do, they've got hot dog stands everywhere. I mean, and I'm talking about good.
They got hot dogs and beers.
And I'm talking about good hot dogs.
Really?
I mean, with all the amenities, crowd, sauerkraut, and whatever you want. But they start around 9 o'clock in the morning. People start eating. They play their games early. You remember that, Mike?
Yeah.
Every game we ever played was 11 o'clock game, our time, whatever.
Right.
And
the billionaire lives in Omaha, Buffett.
Buffett, we ought to go by to see Uncle Buffett.
But they've got so many really good restaurants, and Omaha's a really pretty modern, really nice.
But let me tell you this. They come by their name right, because on both sides of the road, from Omaha to Lincoln, it's corn, 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 and even more corn. You talking about corn fed? They can't help but be corn fed.
Right.
But see, you also got to get, of course, the College World Series, Rosenblatt Stadium, and all that's there. Creighton University's beautiful. A lot of people don't realize Creighton University has a 16,000 seat arena there.
And remember, it's the home of the music.
Then you go right over the line. You're in Iowa.
That's right, gambling.
About 10 casinos on the river.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of stuff to do.
But also, the College World Series is located right there, and every year, and that's big. And And also, Mike, do you remember this show on Sundays years and years ago? Do you remember this show?
Mutual of Omaha.
Yeah. Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom.
That's right.
That was one of the oldest shows ever.
I remember watching that.
And of course, I wish they'd play some of those back, but
good old shows.
But that was so famous. It wasn't that a unbelievable sponsor, because this Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom brought to you by Mutual of Omaha Insurance.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Yeah, you missed out, Dad. We took the girls to the Birmingham Zoo. We got a zoo pass for Christmas. You would have had a good time walking around the Birmingham Zoo, seeing all the animals up here.
Was it really nice?
Yeah, I mean, they got, the elephants and the tigers and the lions.
I'm gonna have to take Macon and Mary Prater the next time I come.
Well, we'll give you the double stroller. You can do that.
Oh yeah, get the double stroller. Macon's not gonna want to be in a stroller.
Yeah, she'll want to be running around.
I tell you what, that's the most.
For any Troy fan out there, that's a trip I would definitely make if you've never been.
Nebraska.
Exactly.
Of course, when we went out there, they had Crouch at quarterback, and Nebraska had won national championships, and they were, Nebraska, a legendary program, but they've fallen off the face of the earth now.
I tell you what, one of the biggest thrills that I've ever had being a Troy fan, like I am, and of course, I've been to a lot of events and experienced a lot of things. But when we scored first, went down the field and scored first against Nebraska, and a lot of people took pictures of that scoreboard. Yeah. Troy 7, Nebraska nothing. You remember that?
Wasn't that like Troy's first real big Division I game?
Yeah, it was the first one.
First year. We're 2001.
It was the first Division I game of all time. And we hung in there with them. The next year, boy, they walloped us, I think, or the next few years later, they beat us.
Yeah, one time we played them really tight. Like
Frost might have been the quarterback when they beat us so bad. I can't remember.
Krause was the quarterback when we played them the first time.
Yeah.
But Troy got beat 42-14, but that line in Vegas was like 50.
Yeah. Well, it really is something. Well, Mike, let me put you on hold a minute. We got a call coming in. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
How you doing, Mike?
Doing great. What's going on?
Oh, nothing much. I can't hear your program from Arkansas, but I thought I'd give you a call.
Man, it's Bill. It's Bill from Arkansas. Bill, thank God you're alive, man. We didn't know.
Yeah, I've been pretty sick.
Are you doing well now, Bill?
Yeah, I'm home from the hospital after 8 months.
Oh, wow. Boy. Well, Bill, you're an unreal guy to be able to make it through all of that you've gone through. Now, of course, are you bedridden? Are you able to get up and get around, or what?
Not yet. I'm still bedridden, but I'm hoping the doctor will give me some permission to stand on my leg, my weight bearing leg. So I called in to hear what's been going on.
Well, it's a lot been going on, ladies and gentlemen. Bill, a lot of you people have watched my show over the years, know who Bill is, and Bill, my son and I were talking about you recently, and we want to know what kind of barnstorms you would have had seeing all these things that have happened over the last 4 or 5 years in politics. It's been that long since we've heard from you, don't you think?
It's been not quite that long, but it's been well over a year and a half.
Yeah. Well, you sound strong this morning, and what's something good had happened that you're still alive, Bill?
Yeah, well, I'm still kicking. I've had a pretty bad run of it in the last 2 years, but things seem to be getting a little bit better each day, so I'm thankful for that.
Well, the Lord is keeping you alive for some reason, Bill. I don't know what it is, but it's for some reason.
Either, but there must be something, because he still keeps pulling me back from the brink.
Well, I think you know who your friends are now, don't you think?
That's for sure.
Hey, Bill, of course, is calling from Arkansas, and everybody was wondering, how did you end up in Arkansas, Bill?
Well, I came over here because I had a small piece of property that I could live on, and but that's neither here nor there. You know, one of the reasons why I called again today might not just touch base, but to throw something out at you. I've been doing a lot of reading because I don't have.
I know you have, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of reading, and I ran across something that I thought was really interesting. The other day, the president recertified the Iran nuclear deal, and I was thinking to myself, why would he do that? Because he campaigned about throwing the deal out, that it was the worst deal.
That's right, Bill.
And I thought about it for a bit, and then it didn't take too much thinking to think about this. The president realizes that after the Obama administration's 8 years in office, that he had pretty much gutted the U.S. military to the point where the U.S. military could only fight one war at a time.
Oh, man.
And it's been our policy to be able to fight a two-front war because of what happened with World War II. And it's the first time in American history since World War II that we were incapable of it. But the Trump administration finds itself with two adversaries that potentially could bring about war: North Korea and Iran.
Yeah.
So, in light of what the North Koreans have done, the North Koreans have done over the last several months, they have launched several missiles over the Sea of Akash, over the Sea of Japan, over Japan itself. And they have been true ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, capable of hitting the United States. 2 years ago, when we talked, Mike, the North Koreans only had the capability of hitting Alaska and Hawaii on a good day. Several months back, they fired a missile that could hit most of the western United States. And finally, this last ICBM now has the capability of hitting cities like Boston.
Oh, man.
And Atlanta.
Oh, boy.
They now have an ICBM that is capable of hitting us. And we know for a fact that they have been working on miniaturization of nuclear weapons that we know they have. They've detonated them test-wise in North Korea. The question remains, do they have a miniaturized nuclear weapon they can put on top of one of these ICBMs?
Right. Yeah.
And become a true threat to the United States.
And that's a missile we can't defer. You know, right now we've got the capability of knocking down most any missile, but hey, if you get that type missile, it's pretty hard to knock them down. Isn't that right?
It's very difficult to hit a nuclear weapon once it's hit apogee and coming down.
Exactly.
I can't say too much about this, but my son works for a company. One of my sons works for a company that is working on a bullet shooting a bullet, basically, a missile striking another missile, nuclear tip missile. And we have the capability to do that, sort of. It doesn't always work. But nonetheless, President Trump has redeployed the anti-ballistic missile system that Obama threw in the trash and gutted.
Yeah. And this is a defense missile, is that right? A defense missile.
It's a defense missile. They're building them in Alaska to defend against the North Koreans, doing something. But Obama and Hillary Clinton got rid of the anti-ballistic missile system that would have defeated the Iranians, and that was one that was deployed in Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
So I think that the president did the right thing by not recertifying the Iranians, or by recertifying the Iranians and giving them a pass temporarily while he deals with the more dangerous upfront mess with the North Koreans.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill is calling in from Arkansas, and everybody that has watched this show over the years, you got to know who Bill is. And he's very opinionated, and of course, what he says is not definitely the way we look at it or anybody else looks at it. It's just his own opinion. but he's a pretty smart guy, no question about it. Now, Bill, give us a report card on Trump. All right, now I want it from your brain instead of your heart. I want you to give us a report card on Donald Trump.
All right, things that Trump has done wrong. He's been shooting himself in the foot by tweeting so much negativity. He should leave those types of things to his underlings. And,
the president's position ought to be a lot more undisclosed, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that too. He needs to allow his minions to do the dirty work, so he can stay above the fray and do the policy and to present himself as the plenipotentiary representative of the United States. If he does those things, these things will shine. The tax deal, the amount of deregulation that regulations that he's deregulated or gotten rid of, the rebuilding of the United States military is working on that.
Now, see, that'll enhance the economy too, rebuilding the military. So he knows that he'll do that, don't you think?
Right, and yes, and he's repatriated hundreds of billions of dollars. Just Apple alone, $350 billion coming back into the United States. Instead of being taxed at 35%, these companies are being taxed at 21%. So the money is just flooding back into the country. We're not talking billions of dollars.
We're talking about trillions.
Now, but trillions over the next several years. Trillions.
Yeah.
So he's done all of that. He's getting ready to cut a deal on the border. We're going to get a lot more work done on the fence. We're going to get rid of chain migration.
Again, the border, though, will give probably millions of people jobs, wouldn't it?
That's true, too. And he's going to give DACA to the Democrats because that's their one and really only bargaining chip.
All right. What is DACA? Go ahead and describe DACA.
It's children that were brought here illegally by their parents.
Yeah, and you're right. You're right.
Basically.
And you don't have a real problem with that, do you?
No, I think if you were brought here, as a small kid,
that's right.
You had no control over that.
No, you're right.
Something that's on your parents. What I would do is, I wouldn't give them. I would make it so that they had to do something for the country to get the ability to vote. Let's face it, the Democrats did this because they saw their party dying, literally dying, for votes. And the only way that they were going to get them wasn't through changing their policies, because the American public has rejected them so often. It was they had to bring the votes in from outside the country.
Yeah.
These are people that they can now say, look, we gave you a foothold into the U.S. We gave you welfare. We gave you free education, free medical care. You owe us, vote Democratic.
Yeah.
And most Democrats will admit that they brought the illegal aliens or want the illegal aliens here for their votes. But that said, there's 12 million of them here now. Yeah. And unless the country really wanted to go after it, hammer and tongs, they're going to stay here. We're not going to get rid of them.
I was watching TV the other day, and I saw this plane flying into America full of things of goods that were coming from Iran or that area of the country, and they could have a bomb in there. All we know, why do we allow all those type cargo to be shipped from over in that part of the country to the United States?
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I know that Iran's highly restricted on what they can import or export to the United States.
Yeah. Back on Trump's report card now, Bill. You've always given it straight with me. I know your heart beats Republican, your brain beats Republican, but what kind of job has Trump done? Is he getting things done that he said he would do?
Yes. Yeah, he is. He's getting things done. Obamacare for all.
Are you pleased with him as president?
Yes, I am, because policy-wise, he's doing a reasonably good job. I give him a B+.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
He's doing the things that he promised that he would do. and things that he could do by himself without the Congress. He's been doing that hammer and spades. You know,
I mean, no question. The jobs rate is almost like at a record, isn't it, for new jobs, isn't it?
The lowest job or unemployment in the United States over the last 20 years. Women's unemployment, the lowest rate in 19 years. Black unemployment, the lowest in 22 years. 22 years.
Putting people to work.
He's putting people to work, and the reason why a lot of that's happening is because companies and corporations have decided that now is the time to invest, bringing money back from overseas and getting it taxed at a lower rate, putting it right back into their businesses where they can expand, and through their expansion they're hiring. And get this, because of what Trump has brought and what he has done, many companies have now offered bonuses or pay increases to their workers. By the tens of thousands of people have gotten either bonuses or pay increases. And wait till February comes, because in February people are going to see what their paychecks really look like after.
Yeah, is he doing this in some kind of shrewd way, or are these real jobs?
No, these are real jobs. I mean, I'll give you an example. The pipeline that Obama stepped all over and squashed.
Yeah, now see, that pipeline's big, isn't it?
Yeah, pipeline is big. And right now they're estimating that the number of jobs created by it will exceed 10,000. And those are not penny-ante jobs. Those jobs are jobs that are paying, $25 and $30 an hour. Yeah. So, I mean, those are not no-account jobs by any means.
Yeah.
He's kept his word. Now, the question is, can he cut out, or can he somehow bring news media on to covering him in a fair way? I saw this morning. I about died. The amount of positive coverage in the first year for the Trump administration by ABC News was less than 5%. 95% of what ABC News said was negative.
So he's alienated all of. Is Fox still on his side?
He did not alienate anybody. The three big networks, CBS, ABC, NBC, all have decided they hate him. They don't like him because he's a Republican.
Yeah.
And they have gone after him hammer and tongs.
Yeah. Fox is leaning, and Fox is not near as strong as they used to be.
At Fox, you're probably looking at about 60% of the stories are positive about what Trump's doing.
You know that pretty girl that he attacked? Boy, I sort of like her now.
Megyn Kelly?
Yeah. Don't you sort of like her in a way, Bill? Well, Megyn Kelly.
She went to NBC.
She's gone to work for a different...
yeah, I know, but have you ever watched her shows? And she's really pretty good, you know.
Yeah, I like Megyn Kelly.
I don't think she wanted to be portrayed like she was. You know, I think she's more Republican than Democrat.
Yes, I think so too. Anyway, I think Trump is doing a reasonably good job considering that he's up against mainstream media. But you know what? He's fighting back.
Yeah.
You know, he refers to mainstream media as fake news. And you know what? He's right.
Yeah.
There's been a number of stories by big-name reporters that have had to been changed, retracted, and those big-name reporters have been, some of them fired, and some of them have been put on the sidelines, you know, with a 30-day suspension. There's one gentleman, I can't remember his name, but he's over on, ABC.
Yeah.
And I used to watch him release, and I always thought he was a good reporter until Trump came along, and then everything he's been doing has been negative. I'll tell you what, Mike, here's something else that's going to come out, and I think Jeff Sessions better get on the right side of all this stuff. I like Jeff Sessions. I've met him. I spoke to him personally. I think he's a decent guy. But for some strange reason, once he became Attorney General, it's almost as if he sat down.
He was trying to let the overall public know that he was not going to show any favoritism, and he just overdid it.
I think Kiki's getting in his own way now.
Yeah.
The FBI has just announced that it lost 5 months worth of tapes with these two FBI agents who appear to have colluded, and they're talking about a secret society within the FBI. Those are their words.
Yeah.
The secret society within the FBI who wants to basically stick it to Trump to damage his presidency. At first they were against him getting elected. Now they're out to destroy his presidency. And this is in a law enforcement.
All right, and it's probably led by the guy that he fired, don't you think?
I think he may have been a part of it, but I don't think it was led by him.
Yeah.
You have to go back into the Obama administration.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something, Mike. You and I talked about this a couple of years back when the IRS got caught, slamming tax status for groups of people that leaned right.
Yeah, exactly, and they were.
And I said back then that Obama had allowed parts of the federal government to be weaponized, to be used as political weapons pointed at their enemies.
And there's not anybody out there that if you look hard enough, you'll find some kind of tax evasion, don't you think?
Well, I think you'll find something on anybody, But the idea now is not just some false idea that I was spreading. It's true. They weaponized not only the Internal Revenue Service, the EPA, but now we find out that the FBI and the Department of Justice was weaponized, that they were used to target political enemies of the ding-a-ling left, the Hillary Clintons and so forth, of the Democratic Party and the Obamas. They weaponized parts of the federal government, and that's super dangerous.
Yeah.
Then you're talking about things akin to the KGB or the Gestapo.
Yeah.
When you weaponize government and use it against your political appointments, and you have control of the media, and I'm talking here about the big three television stations, plus some of their substations, MSNBC, CNBC, and so forth.
Yeah.
When you control the media like that, you literally at the steps of fascism.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Exactly what the Nazis did. It's exactly what the communists did.
Yeah.
Once they had control of those things.
All right. Well, let me ask you. Let me say two things here. All right. He keeps saying that the wall, we're going to build the wall, and Mexico's going to pay for it. How in the world is Mexico going to pay for it?
Through monetary reparations that go home. Right now, if you look at the Mexican economy, the second most important thing to Mexico, besides their oil revenue, are monetary reparations that come home to Mexico from their people working in the United States. 1 in 3 Mexicans doesn't live in Mexico. They live in the United States, and they send money home to help support families and relatives back in Mexico. And if you somehow are able to tax that, a lot of that goes through Western Union. Yeah. If you are able to tax it when it's sent, then Mexico, in fact, will be paying for the wall.
I got you. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? And it's so simple. That's really very simple, isn't it?
It sure is. You can get it through that, and you could probably also get it through the Mexican National Bank, where you basically shut them off from international trade, which we could do. We could get it that way. And then finally, the final way would be to tax all imports coming across the border right there.
All right, everybody knows that the reason we're doing this is because we've got so many companies that are moving their operations to Mexico because of for labor reasons, much cheaper labor, and just several things will make that company more money. Why do you think or how do you think Trump is going to keep these guys from going overseas?
Well, Trump has already warned them. Trump has already warned them about this. There was one company, I believe they were in Wisconsin or Michigan, that had said that it was going to uproot and was using their workers here to go take them to Mexico, some of them, and to teach their new Mexican workers how to do their jobs, and then they would basically be sent home jobless. Well, Trump intervened. That was in the first couple of months of being president.
Is that Carrier?
He stepped in and he said, "Oh, no. We will tax the living daylights out of it." It was an air conditioning company.
Yeah, Carrier. He hit it. Yeah.
We will tax the living daylights out of anything you make that's in Mexico, and it's now being brought back.
So there goes their profits right there. Then,
that's right. And then guess what? They decided against it.
Yeah.
Carrier
I was thinking
operating in the United States with no plans to go to Mexico. But you know what? The other part of that is when he said, "We don't want you going overseas and then making something and bring it back, or we've got to tax you." We would much rather have you keep your jobs here and reinvest here because we're going to tax you at a lower corporate rate from 35 to 21%.
You know, I thought Trump would get more support across the aisle. I thought that you might have more the conservative Democrats casting their vote across the aisle. That was what the plan was. Isn't that right?
Well, it was, and to some degree, that is happening. Joe Manchin from West Virginia, here just the other day, the new senator from
Alabama,
Jones.
I think he'll cross over.
He doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
He's only going to be there for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then he's a dead man walking.
Yeah.
There's no way he's going to get reelected in Alabama.
Yeah.
He's got 2 years and he's finished.
Yeah.
You've got a couple there, and there's the gentleman whose name escapes me right now from Montana. There are a handful of Democrats, especially senators, who are going to be up for re-election coming up here in 2016 or 2020, who are going to have to be seen by their very right-leaning, I voted for Trump states, like Montana, West Virginia, North Dakota, and so on. They're going to have to be seen as being helpful and not hindering what the president is doing because the people where they are from like what's happening.
Yeah. Bill, of course, we're talking. Bill has been in the hospital for what? How long, Bill?
This last time was almost 8 months.
Wow. 8 months, and of course you're diabetic. That's one of the problems. Is that right?
Yeah, that's part of the problem. I had my one foot got infected, and they couldn't get it. I was on 4 different antibiotics for over 6 months.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
But evidently, you've gotten some pretty good medical. You've gotten some pretty good medical care. Evidently, is that right?
I have gotten good medical care.
Was it Obamacare? Wait a minute. Was it Obamacare?
No.
All right, now, Bill. Now you've always been straight with me.
No,
it's going to turn. If it turns out to be Obamacare, everything you said against Obama all these years, you're going to have to apologize.
I have to take it back? Not a chance, and you know where.
Do you still not like Obama, Bill? I mean, he's gone. He can't do anything right now. Do you still dislike him?
I personally, I don't know enough about the guy personally to like or dislike.
You know what? I'm going to write him a letter and get him to write, come by and see you. What I'm going to do.
His policies were just abominable.
Yeah.
They were horrible.
Yeah.
And it's taken the entire first year of President Trump to overturn what President Obama did. And he's still not done. There's still things that Obama did that have not yet been corrected, but are on the president's agenda.
Well, Bill, who's paying for your medical care right now?
I'm Medicare.
Okay, and it's just
the way I looked at it, Mike, all those years I worked,
I know it.
I paid into an insurance system called Medicare, and I'm now using that insurance.
That's right.
I don't want to be. I wish to God I wasn't using it at all.
Of course, Bill ladies and gentlemen, was educated here at Troy. What brought you actually to Troy, Bill?
My aunts, 4 of my great aunts were Troy graduates.
Isn't that amazing?
And
but you were from Illinois, though, weren't you?
I was from Illinois, but my aunts were from here in Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah, I got you.
And then my son has his undergraduate degree from Troy, and he's only a class or two short of his master's degree.
I'm proud of him. He's the one that stuck real strongly by you too, hasn't he?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he moved here to take care of me.
Yeah, I tell you, I've been so impressed with him, and let me tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, Bill is a very, very knowledgeable person. In fact, I don't know if there's a more knowledgeable person out there. I really don't, and I'm so glad he called our show. Now, yeah, again, we don't agree on everything, but he makes sense. But Bill was a very successful businessman until he was started. Where were you that night, Bill, when you had the wreck? You were a very well-established businessman in Illinois. Is that right?
I was. Mike, I was set to retire. I was 30 years old when I had the car accident. On the day I had the car accident, I had almost $70,000 in the bank. My house was more than half paid off. I could have wrote a check and paid my house off.
You were happily married. You were happily married and had how many children?
I had 3 children and 1 on the way, and I just remodeled completely a renovated $30,000 renovation of my home. My truck was paid off. We were getting ready to take a vacation to Europe and Israel to see the Holy Land for a month. And when this car accident occurred.
And let me just tell you this now. He's riding down the road. Just picture yourself riding down the road. Was it a rainy night?
It was a rainy, dank night, and the street was very overcast because of tree overgrowth. It was like driving down the tunnel.
Yeah. Okay, and then tell us what happens. I mean, you're riding down the street, going home probably, weren't you?
I was on my way home back to my office, actually.
Was it in the daytime or night?
This was about 8:30 at night. Riding home, went down the street I'd never driven down before, and the telephone company, or the lighting company, I should say, the Commonwealth Edison of Illinois, and the city engineers decided they were putting a telephone pole up in the middle of the road where there's a small median about 4 feet wide in the middle of the road, and the road wrapped around the median in the middle of a block. Strangest thing I've ever seen. And they left the telephone pole laying on the ground and propped up on one end. It was sitting on top of a couple of cinder blocks. And I drove straight into it. There were cars parked on either side of me. There was nowhere to go. I didn't see it. There were no barricades or flashing lights or reflective tape or paint, yellow paint or white paint, nothing. It was just like, bang, I hit it.
Okay, and since then, no telling how many operations, and it just changed your whole life, didn't it?
It did. It left me in the state that I'm in now. I had a couple operations on my back. I gained a tremendous amount of weight, and I've lost a tremendous amount of weight. I'm down to within about 20 pounds of my goal weight.
Isn't that fantastic? That's gonna keep you alive right there, Bill.
Well, I'm down to almost 230 pounds.
That is wonderful. But this is the next story. All right, here this has happened, and if it happened in Troy, Alabama, you're a lawyer. I got a lawyer, Stephen Curtis, sitting right by me. Is that a lawsuit? Waiting to happen?
Sounds like definitely it is.
Well, listen to this. In the state of Illinois, is this right now, Bill? You can't sue a municipality. Is that right?
Yeah. Listen to this. We went to sue. I got a friend of mine who is one of the best litigators in Illinois, in the Chicago area, which is saying quite a bit. He took up my case for me.
I mean, it looked like no question.
Right.
There was no question. He said, "Bill, we got a great case here," and we got as far as the interrogatories, and I'd already had one of the surgeries, getting ready to have the second one, and the got to the interrogatories when Commonwealth Edison came in and basically petitioned the judge while we were doing the interrogatories. Basically petitioned the judge to be freed from the litigation because they found a law dating back on the books in Illinois to 1898. It basically said that if this is when they were doing the electrification of rural counties around Chicago. Basically, the law said it gave protection or immunized Commonwealth Edison from any litigation that might arise out of this if they were working under the auspices of a city engineer or a municipal engineer municipality. And they were working for the city of North Chicago. We also had named them in the lawsuit. And when we went to sue them in the interrogatory process, same day exactly, we were continuing to sue them. We found out that they wanted to be released as well because they were in Illinois, under home rule. They had declared themselves to be self-insured, and they were bankrupt.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
But, I mean, what I'm saying now, he has no way to recover.
Yeah.
Isn't that right, Bill?
Nothing. I told John, my attorney, I said, John, sue him. I don't care what we get from him. I'll take the fire engines. I'll take City Hall. I'll take the city park. Get me whatever you can.
You know, Bill, I've never talked to you before, never listened to you on the show, but, you know, I totally agree with you. You know, when somebody's negligent or something happens like that, I think you certainly should recover. And, you know, listening to you being the Trump supporter, the hardcore Republican that it sounds like you are, you know, most of those types of people are anti-lawsuit and anti, you know, those things. But
I realize.
But I tell people all the time, you know, there's some people take advantage of that situation, but when there's true wrongdoing or true negligence, then certainly somebody should.
He lost a livelihood.
Yeah,
he lost pretty much everything. And
Mike, listen to what I lost. I told you what I had when I was 30 years old, my house and money in the bank. It's over. Here's what I ended up losing. I was 30. I planned to retiring at 45. I had invested money in the partnership that I belonged to, and that partnership, I've been made a junior partner just 3 weeks before the accident. That junior partnership was with, now get this, the junior partnership was made alongside Jack Nicklaus and Lee Trevino. We were in an undertaking to build golf courses designed by those gentlemen and the engineering done by the engineering company I worked for. Now, a couple of the other people I worked alongside with, who were junior engineers, two other engineers in the company, who became junior partners in the same thing that I was a junior partner in. I ended up having to leave only 3 weeks in. I made absolutely zero money on it. They left a year and a half, 2 years later, and one walked away with $1.2 million. The other walked away with $1.9 million.
The only thing that you could do, though, was enhance your education, and that's what led you to Troy. Is that right?
That's right. I decided that once the doctors, after the second operation, told me I would be in a wheelchair within a couple of years, they told me that I'd probably never walk again. And I decided that I had to do something where I could continue to work because I was the sole provider for my children. My wife left me and the kids. And it left me having to be able to raise.
Not just left you and the kids.
She left me and the children. And I told her I wanted the kids. I didn't want her to take them. Those are for some personal reasons I don't want to get into between her and I. I kept the children and I raised them alone as a single dad. And I decided I've got to do something to provide for them because I could no longer do my old job. So I decided I packed my kids up. I explored the situation for about a month and a half, 2 months on the internet, which I didn't even have a computer at the time. I had to go to the library every day to do this. Went to the library and I did some looking, and I remembered my great aunt talking to me about her time at Troy. So I looked at Troy along with 5 other universities across this country, from all the way up in Montana, and then, of course, down to Troy. And I chose Troy to go back to school. I had a little bit of college the first year I had graduated high school, and I dropped out because I got this engineering job, which paid fantastic money compared to what other jobs were paying. And I decided to go back to school, get my education, and I came down to Troy, and I did about 3 years there at Troy and graduated the 4.0 GPA and summa cum laude for National Honor Society, who's who, won the Chancellor's Prize. I had a great experience at Troy, so much so that when my mom had her heart attack and a stroke, and I left my job in Colorado several years later, when my mother was well again, I brought my boys back so that they could go to school at Charles Henderson and, more importantly, at the university.
Yeah.
And my son did.
Yeah, Bill, we got to go off there. Stay on the line, Bill. Stay on the line, if you will. Of course, Bill, what do you what last name do you go by now?
Hudson.
What?
Hudson.
That's what I thought. Bill Hudson, and of course, a long-time caller on this show, and I think you can see he's a very intelligent man.
Very much so.
And I tell you, if you don't listen to him, you won't. If you want to learn something, listen to him, because he's pretty smart, no question. Well, Bill, hang on, and we'll talk to you later in a few moments. But hope you enjoyed our show, and we appreciate our sponsors. We didn't go to any commercials because I was so excited to hear about Bill. I didn't know whether he was alive or dead or whatever, but you're alive and well at least. Is that right, Bill?
I'm alive and kicking.
Good.
Okay, I will be back. We're going to go off there and Bill, stay on the line. I hope you've enjoyed our show. See you at 1:30 today and tomorrow morning live right here on this show for today in L.A. Stephen Curtis, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Have a good day.